What's going on, guys? Welcome back to F123, my team career mode for Season 1, round number 16, the Las Vegas Grand Prix. It is the finale for Season 1. We're finally at the end of the season, and we're doing our first Las Vegas Grand Prix. First of all, though, we have another secondary sponsor now, and we're going to go for XER, which is Achieve a Podium Position. So I thought this one probably a little more difficult to get, but our other two sponsors were fairly easy to get. I think one of them was Don't Cut a Single Corner, and the other one was, I think, score at least 10 points. That one's a bit more, a bit easier. You know, the corner cutting one's fairly easy, and then this podium one is one that we probably won't get that often, but we will hopefully get now and again. Looking at R&D, and Mercedes and Aston Martin have actually had a big jump up for this final race of the season. Mercedes now the quickest car, Aston Martin second, then it's Red Bull, then Ferrari, then we are there in fifth, just behind those guys. Alpine actually jumping up a little bit as well. So it'll be interesting to see how that affects this final race of the season. We are going to have to take a new engine, a new ICE for this race, because we didn't have any ICEs that had less than 71% wear. So we're going to have to take a grid penalty here. However, seems like there's a glitch with this game where if you take the component before going into practice, this happened on F122 as well, it doesn't give you the penalty for the race. So we're actually not going to have a grid penalty. Now that I know for the future, to make it fair, I will put the components on before qualifying if possible. I put this one on before practice because, you know, the other ones were so worn that I wasn't able to really use them for practice, and I figured, well, a brand new one anyway, we're not going to wear it so much in practice that it's going to be too worn for the races, so we'll just have to go with it. But yeah, in future I will try and do it before qualifying to make it fair. You know, I think it's unfair to not get penalties when we really should be getting them. Q1 doesn't go great, to be honest. P11 for us, P13 for Doohan. There's only two tenths between us, and considering how much further ahead we have been compared to Doohan this season, that is not the best. And we get into Q2 here. This is as far as we get. This is the first time in F123 we haven't made it out of Q2. We don't get into Q3 for the first time in the final race of Season 1. It's wet here in Las Vegas for Q2, and I really struggled. The car is completely set up for the dry because the race is going to be completely dry. It was supposed to be kind of like right at the end of qualifying that we were going to get rain. So I was expecting maybe Q3, but it came down in Q2. And as you can see, we're ridiculously struggling on this lap. Now, I'm going to be honest, this is the first time I drove Las Vegas. In this video, basically. I did a few laps beforehand to check the AI difficulty, which because I use the F123 AI difficulty calculator. I've been using that since F1 2021. I'll be honest, it didn't really work out for this race. As Nico Hulkenberg's out of the session, he was behind me. I think he got a bit checked up behind me and actually spun off and crashed. So sorry to Hulkenberg there. Wasn't really much I could do about that. I do apologise. But yeah, for the rest of this season, the calculator's actually been pretty much correct. Been pretty much right. But for this race, it wasn't. It told me to put the difficulty quite a lot higher than I have for previous races, about 3 or 4 points higher than I have for any other race. And then when we went into qualifying, this is how I put the AI for what it told me, and we weren't really there, even in the dry. You know, being only 2 tenths ahead of Doohan is not where we expect it to be. And just this track in general, I don't really like Las Vegas. I feel like it's not a very flowing track. I just don't love this track. So yeah, not my favourite track in the world, I will be honest. We ended up in P15, so we're out in Q2. Doohan, though, gets through to Q3 for the first time in this final race of the season. So he's in P9, so that's good for him. See what he can do in Q3. But yeah, it is a terrible qualifying, our worst qualifying yet in Las Vegas. But let's see if we can make up any positions in the race.
Welcome to Las Vegas, and for Formula One, it's welcome back to Las Vegas. No longer do we race in the Caesars Palace car park. Tonight, the time is right to go racing in the street. 17 corners, 3 straights, 2 DRS zones, and the glitz and glamour of Las Vegas as we race around the 3.8 miles of Sin City. The strip has been taken over to become a straight tonight, commanding top speeds of around 212 miles an hour. Off the back of a fantastic qualifying session, it's time to see how our starting grid looks like for today's race. What a qualifying yesterday for George Russell. He'll start today's race from pole position, and Fernando Alonso completes the front row. Considering the rest of the grid, we have Leclerc, Doohan, Sainz, Hamilton, Perez, Verstappen, Norris, Gasly, Joe, Ocon, Davies, Sargent, Bottas, De Vries, Albon, Hulkenberg, Stroll, Oscar Piastri, Magnussen and Yuki Tsunoda. Now it's almost time for lights out, so let's go down to the track. Anthony Davidson, a very warm welcome to you as you join me in the commentary box for today's event. Can we begin by having a chat about Charles Leclerc? What a season they've had, a well-deserved championship victory, and the pressure now is surely off with the title already in the bag.
I agree it's been a truly impressive season, but championship or no, I don't think they'll be gently cruising around to the finish line. In fact, with points no longer a concern, there's a lot less to risk, so we may even see a more aggressive approach.
Alright, so here we go for the Las Vegas Grand Prix. We're starting P13, thanks to some grid penalties ahead of us. But here we go, it's the medium compound tyres for us. Doohan is in P4. What a crazy qualifying it's been, a great qualifying for him. We get a good launch and have gone up the inside of about 3 cars as we head into turn 1. We're now side by side with Pierre Gasly in the Alpine. We just have to let him go though as we head around this right-hander. Really struggle with this corner. Not one of my favourite corners on this track. And like I said, just this track in general, I'm not a big fan. It doesn't flow. It's just not the most fun track to drive, I find. Maybe, you know, I need to drive the track a little bit more before we come here again in an F1 23 My Team video. But, yeah, just my first thoughts on this track, not loving it so much. I also, my setup, I get all my setups from the YouTuber Sim Racing Setups. He has some great setups, use them for all my races. And, yeah, used it again for this race, but I don't know, the setup just didn't quite... I don't know if it was the setup or the car or what, just didn't really love this. Like I said, I put the difficulty down quite a bit for this race after qualifying, but even still, you will see in this race that I am struggling because we have got, I believe it's Alexander Albon in the Alpine behind us now, and we've got quite a big gap to Gasly up ahead. Albon's actually right on the back of us here, might even be looking at a move. We're heading down this big old straight here, a lot of massive straights here, and we know how good our engine is, but the problem is ERS. We don't have the most ERS in the world to work with because we haven't actually, even though we've got, you know, the best powertrain on the grid, we haven't put a whole lot of upgrades on the powertrain because of that reason, which means that we haven't actually upgraded the ERS very much. So we run out of ERS quite quickly, and on a track like this where there's so much straights, that could be a real problem. My teammate Doohan, though, has had a great start to this race. I believe he is on the soft compound tyres, which means he might be going for a 2-stop here, but he's actually now going for a move on, was that Charles Leclerc, I believe, in the Ferrari, and has actually gotten up to P2. So Doohan is running in P2 in his, what will probably be his final race for us this season. I'm not going to lie, I probably will be changing him out for next season, but what a way to go out. If he can get a podium here, that would be incredible, as we have a massive dive on Norris into this next corner. Just a lot of cars getting caught up into that corner, and we just sniffed an opportunity there. The door was open and we get past Norris, so we've made an overtake on lap number 4 here, so we're at least keeping with the guys ahead of us, but I'm struggling a lot. I will not lie to you, there were definitely a few replay restarts in this race. Yeah, really difficult for me, this one. Not the most fun I've had in an F1 race on this game. As now Fernando Alonso is also looking at a move on Charles Leclerc, who I think has also been overtaken by Lewis Hamilton. So Leclerc going backwards a little bit here. Alonso can't quite get past him, but he's really under threat. But now Alonso is going to come under threat from, I believe that is Max Verstappen in the Red Bull, who's running the number 1 on his car for this race, but next season he won't have that number 1 on his car. He'll be back to the number 33 because Charles Leclerc won the championship. I assume Leclerc will take that number 1 spot. I'm not 100% sure if they always do take the number 1, but one thing's for sure, Verstappen won't have it. As now though, Verstappen is going for a move on Leclerc because Verstappen's showing good pace in this race. That Red Bull is still very quick in a straight line, and he gets up ahead of Charles Leclerc, the not even the championship leader, the championship winner from this season. We're now looking at a move on Pierre Gasly as we head down this straight here, side by side with him through this right-hander. That seems to be one of the best opportunities for me to overtake. There's also the big old straight, but you need so much battery to do that. And as you can see, by lap number 8, we're already really running out of battery quite quickly here, as we've got some cars ahead of us of Perez and Leclerc and that. So the couple at the front have kind of gotten away, but we're managing to stay with this group here. So our pace isn't absolutely terrible. Gasly though manages to get past us into the next corner, and we are now having some real issues understeering around the next corner as well. That lets Norris through as well. And I'm just looking at my kind of heads-up display here because we really seem to be having issues right now. My pace is not good. Through the corners we have a lot of understeer. On the straights we don't have any battery to work with, and also I think we've got quite a worn MGU-K, I believe it is. That may be causing us some issue with our engine, because now we're being attacked by Zhou Guan Yu in the Alfa Romeo. This is not a car I expected to be battling with here. And he's actually going to get past us there, so that's very unfortunate, just showing that we don't have the pace in this race, because that's an Alfa Romeo getting past us, the second slowest car on the grid. But we're going to go for a ballsy move into the final corner. It's a flat corner. We have the inside line. Zhou leaves the door open a little bit, and we get up back ahead of him. George Russell is out of the session though, so from leading this race, Russell is out. Does that mean that Doohan now leads this race? It could do. If he's not already come in for his pit stop off the soft compound tyres, because like I said, pretty sure he's going for a 2-stop race here. I think he has come into the pits already, so it's not Doohan leading, but yeah, Russell, a contender to win this race, is out of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. As we're going to come in on lap number 12 for our set of hard compound tyres. Now, looking back, I maybe should have done a 2-stop in this race, and maybe for future that is something to think about. Because I don't have the pace here, maybe a 2-stop is the better one for me, because on quicker tyres I can at least make positions. I think a 1-stop is not the way to go for me here, because I just don't have the pace on these tyres. So on quicker tyres maybe I could make something work a little bit more, and as you can see, we actually overtook Alonso in the pits, but he's straight back past us into that corner off the DRS zone, and yeah, it's not going well here, but we are still somewhat in this group. However, we've got a lot of cars behind us with some very good pace, and we're going to be overtaken side by side on the left and the right. Make a little bit of contact with Ocon there, as Sargent, that's Logan Sargent in the Williams, makes an absolute dive around the outside of us. We then get caught up with Ocon, a little bit of contact with him through that kind of fiddly corner there, and we're having a look. Actually no, we're trying to defend from, I believe that's Valtteri Bottas, and now we're going to go round the outside of Ocon, a little bit of a graze on the wall there. We're going to be side by side through turn 1 here, and we are just about going to get, well, stay ahead of Ocon, or get back ahead of Ocon I could say, but look how much we're struggling here, because Logan Sargent in the Williams has buggered off over 1 second ahead of us in front, as Ocon now gets past us as we head down into this corner, and this is where our pace really struggled. We weren't great on the medium compound tyres, but we were kind of keeping ourselves there with DRS. On the hard compound tyres, when everybody's kind of split up a little bit, we are really struggling. We do manage to get back past Ocon with DRS, but as you can see, we have got such a small amount of ERS here that we cannot do anything in this race. Doohan seems to be in the pits once again here as we come down. I think this is coming into the final part of the, well, it's the final sector of the lap anyway. Ocon back past us again. Zhou Guan Yu is the car ahead. He's now being caught by us a little bit here. I think maybe he actually got past us. There's a safety car though, safety car on lap number 17, and I'm like, oh okay, what do I want to do here? Maybe a little bit cheekily, I kind of cut the white line here and come into the pits. I wasn't really sure where the pit entry starts, like really far back, so that may have actually been an illegal move, but I did it anyway. We're not going to get a corner cut thing for it. because I'm going to try and go soft tyres till the end of this race. This is why the safety car came out though, as Oscar Piastri spun round and has gone sideways into the wall. He's still going in this race, but looks like he has damage. He's trying to go for a move on Valtteri Bottas, gets a little bit too much on the curb, spins it round, smacks into the wall, loses his front wing, and then has to do like a 3 or 5 point turn. We have a look at Magnussen behind just for a different angle of that crash. So very unfortunate for Piastri here. He wasn't running in a particularly good position anyway. He is still in the race though, but he's going to have to come in for a front wing change. And we're going on to soft compound tyres because, well, we don't have any pace on these hard, so I thought, let's try and... It might be a bit of a push to get to the end on softs, but let's try it. We might at least be able to make some moves in this race and at least get back to where we were. I think we were about P13. So if we can get back there, that would be great. We go for a dive bomb on Nico Hülkenberg into turn 1. It gives us a bit of a fight there, but we managed to get past. Piastri is 2 positions behind us because he had to come in for that front wing change. He's also on the soft compound tyres though, so this may actually somewhat work out for him as well, as he is hounding Hülkenberg behind. There's cars all over the road up ahead. We're going to make a dive on Yuki Tsunoda into this next corner. Piastri makes the move on Hülkenberg as well, as Stroll and Bottas are side by side up ahead here. Great little battle between them two. Stroll kind of pushes Bottas a little bit wide, and that lets us get up the inside, and we're going to have a drag race with Bottas down this ridiculously long straight. This straight is so ridiculously long. You're bouncing off the limiter the whole time. We're side by side. We're kind of boxed in by Stroll though. We're going to try and go to the inside of the Canadian. Bottas is there on the inside as well. We're past Stroll. We're going to be side by side alongside Bottas as we head into this tight corner here, but we get past both of them. There's yellow flags behind. It's actually in front because Esteban Ocon has an engine penalty and is out of the Las Vegas Grand Prix. That is the second retirement of this race. We are now ahead of Stroll. And on these soft compound tyres, we're showing a little bit more pace here. So at least we've got a little bit of action at the end of this race here, even though it's going to be hard to score points here. We're now going for a move on Kevin. Is that Kevin Magnussen? Or is that Hülkenberg again? I think it's Magnussen, because Hülkenberg's, as far as I know, is way further behind. So we make our way past that Haas anyway. And our pace is better now. There's yellow flags now ahead, and that's Doohan. That is Doohan, my teammate on the right, and his car with suspension damage. He's out of the race. Looks like he's crashed. He was definitely looking to score points in this race. Got a little bit screwed over by the safety car, so was towards the back end of the points. But he's now not going to score any points at all as he spins it around on his own accord, hits the left wall with his rear at the same time, and has broken his suspension, broken his wheel, the front right there, and is out of this race. So after looking so promising in this race, Doohan is now out in his final race with us, with a, or at least the final race of this season, with a crash. As one man making his way up the order is Alexander Albon. He's just gotten past one of the Aston Martins, and he's really making a move here in this race. Both Williams actually running in very good positions. This is Lando Norris with, I believe, Pierre, no, it's got to be Pierre Gasly because Ocon's out of the race. These two are having a nice ding-dong battle. We've seen quite a few battles between these two in this second half of the season. Of course, in Mexico, they had a real good battle for what could have been a podium. What ended up not being a podium for either of them in the end, but could have been a podium. They were battling for P3 at one point in that race. Here, it's a little bit further back, but Gasly gets ahead of Norris this time around. However, Norris now trying to get back at Gasly once again, but you've also got Alexander Albon, who is absolutely carving his way through in that very quick Williams. He's past Gasly. He's now going to go side by side with Norris through this next corner. Can't quite get past Norris there, but I think we'll have another go later on. Lewis Hamilton also trying to make his way through the order. He's now got Max Verstappen ahead of him, and when Verstappen got past Hamilton earlier in the race, towards the end of this race, Hamilton looks to be the quicker car, as these two are now side by side through this very tight section. What amazing racing between these two. They're keeping it clean, unlike what they seem to do in real life, but this is a colossal battle between the two multiple world champions as they're still side by side going now down this long straight. Verstappen just about has the legs on Hamilton at the moment, but Hamilton will hook up and he's trying to go for a move into this very fast left hander. That could have been near disaster, but they keep it clean. They're still side by side. This time maybe Hamilton can get the better exit, and he can, and he's now up ahead of Verstappen. Verstappen, but Verstappen in that quicker Red Bull car will pick up the slipstream and will now try and go for the move back on Hamilton again, round the outside, down this very long straight here, but Hamilton will try and still get back in the slipstream, but it doesn't matter because Charles Leclerc has now gotten past Hamilton, and he's now gone for a move for Verstappen as well. Leclerc all of a sudden on a charge in this final part of the race. They're still side by side, but now Leclerc has made up 2 positions in that small part of the track, and it's right at the end of the race because he's going to go ahead to take P2 right at the end of this race, and it's a Ferrari 1-2 because Carlos Sainz has won the race. As Alexander Albon still making positions here, still battling with Gasly and Norris, currently ahead of these two, with Gasly and then Norris behind, and it looks like he's going to keep that position, and I believe it's going to be a double points finish for Williams as Sargent also picks up, I believe, P10. We'll see that in a minute. For us, we got back to P13, so we pretty much got back to where we were before we pitted for the softs, but it's no points for us. It's the first time in this season, in this game, that we haven't scored points when we've finished the race. It's not been a great Las Vegas, it's not been a great final race of the season, but at least it's over.
Then they've taken the win here as we wrap up another fantastic Formula One season. Tell me, Ant, how did they manage to achieve this win?
Well, they certainly stood out as a driver with tons of confidence on the track. I think their ability to keep their cool, even during some of the more hectic parts of the race, meant they were able to capitalise on the mistakes of other drivers, giving them the opportunity to make their way to the top spot with ease.
And here we are, a team that is no stranger to the podium, taking their place on top once again. A sublime race today, and a stunning win for Ferrari.
So Carlos Sainz wins the first Las Vegas Grand Prix, and it is a Ferrari 1-2 after that final charge from Leclerc on that last lap. A Ferrari 1-2, and I believe it is Max Verstappen who takes home third place in this race for what has been a bit of a difficult season for the defending world champion, losing his championship and only getting a couple of wins this season, but it has been great from Ferrari. They've been pretty damn great, especially at the last part of this season, fairly dominant. They've already won the Drivers' and Constructors' Championship last time out. It's P13 for us, where we started, didn't really make up any positions, and yeah, a very clumsy race from us. P20 for Doohan and a DNF. Very unfortunate, especially considering the pace he had in this race. He was definitely looking on to score at least a couple of points, but unfortunately it was not to be. This is how the Drivers' Championship ended up. Leclerc ends up winning by a considerable margin to George Russell in second. Carlos Sainz manages to take third from Max Verstappen, and then you've got Lewis Hamilton fifth, Perez sixth, and we come home in seventh. And then yeah, Doohan's 17th, 1 point to his name. Could have been more than that in this race, but very unfortunate. And like I said, Logan Sargent picked up 1 point in this race, a P10, and a great result for Williams, because that then moves them up to P8 in the Constructors' Championship with 12 points. They go from 3 points to 12 because Alexander Albon finished P6 in this race. What a performance from Alexander Albon. Driver of the day for sure for me. And yeah, we do end up hanging on to P4 in the Constructors, so that is where we're going to finish for F1 23 Season 1. So thank you guys very much for watching. If you enjoyed, please go ahead, like and subscribe, and I will see you guys in the next video.